Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about ifs, else, and else if statements. Um, so let me give you a quick rundown of my code, briefly mention a couple of things so you guys better understand what how my whole code works, and then we're going to get talking about our topic. So here, I just wanted to show you guys the methods that I'm using for my explain video, starting from the very top. We have the method for brightening up a picture, which we learned in the first couple of modules. And in the next three methods, they're basically all chroma key methods. One for green, one for blue, and one for white. The only difference between this chroma key and the one that you guys probably saw on Perusal is the threshold added in the parameters. Which you can see down here in the if statement, using color distance to figure out the threshold to eliminate any excess pixelation. And here I used my create collage method that we learned from advanced collage. So let me just read this to you guys real quick. A method that allows you to have 3 pictures on a blank white canvas and an int type to change RGB values for a second picture. So you take a look here. The only difference between this one and the advanced collage message, is in the argument you can see an int brightness. So I'm taking in an int type variable for my second picture. Scroll down a little bit. If you see the when I'm setting my RGBs, I'm adding on brightness to it, and that's going to be for user to decide how bright they want the second picture to be. And yeah, so here in my explain conditional executions class, starting from the very top, I'm just calling the scanner object class to get user input. Here I'm just initializing some variables and then setting some values for the variables. Here I'm just grabbing some pictures, something you guys should be familiar with. Let's talk about this last. Here I'm just grabbing the picture objects and calling the methods. And here I'm just calling on my create collage method and putting it all together and exploring the picture, which brings up the picture. So I don't know if you guys caught this, but this threshold is going to be kind of somewhat relevant. It's going to be pretty relevant to our topic, so keep in mind that this threshold is for the chroma key blue, right? Kind of says it all. It's going to be a threshold for blue. So here is where we start talking about the ifs, else, and else if statements. So pretty much, if something happens, it will do this. Otherwise, do these, right? So ifs, else, and else if statements, this is another basis for programming using conditions based on user input. Or based on a certain events, right, that happens, we're going to do different things, right? So I want to get a user input, and based on what they type in, I want my program to do something. And if the condition is true, then anything inside the curly braces will happen. So inside these parentheses is going to be my condition. And if the condition is true, then anything inside the if block, you see how it's highlighted already, it's gonna execute. So that's your if statement. So let's talk about else. Else, it can only come after if or else if. So don't try to put this on the very top. This can only follow at the end. But note that you do not need to have an else. This could solely exist without this. And there's different ways to format it. You could do it, some people do it like this. I like to do it like this. It's another common way, just to make it more readable. And that's important, right? Because people are going to be reading your code, and if it's the easier it is to read, the better. But just remember something important to remember. It's never going to print both or all three. It's going to print one of these. This is conditional statement. So if this is true, then it will only print this. If this is true, then it's only going to print this. But if either of these, if both of these are false, then it will print this one. Else is meant to do something if or else if isn't true. So let's talk about else if statements. Basically, it's kind of the same thing. Else if could only exist only after the initial if statement. Let me see. If the if statement doesn't happen, then the code is going to come down in here and read this, and if this condition is true, then this one will execute instead of this one, right? So what does my code actually do? So here you're going to see, let's compile and run it and just talk about it as I run it. So here you can see it pops up. Professor is on a journey to Neverland. Should Professor change out of her pajamas for a casual shirt? And you can see the questions being asked right here. And here's where I'm grabbing the user input. Let's say yes, right? Should the professor change out of her pajamas for a casual shirt? Yes, let's put her in a casual shirt. So you can see that since my answer was not no, it jumps down to this one. And since equals yes, my threshold is going to equal yes. And if you look back up here, my threshold is now going to be 0, right? Int yes equals 0. So now it jumps down to this one. While true, system.out.print, how bright should Tinkerbell shine in the sky? Choose a number between 50 and 70. So you can see I have a little safety net here in case they choose a number that's under 50 or over 70. So if this condition is true, right, this is an if statement, then this while loop will break. But if they enter a number under 50 or over 70, then you will remain in the while loop. So you can see here in the questions, how bright should Tinkerbell shine in the sky? Choose a number between 50 and 70. So let me just choose 50, lowest number, and when I compile my code and run it, this will pop up. So we asked her to change in a casual shirt, and Tinkerbell's not shining too bright. And now let's see what happens if we changed her in her pajamas. So if I compile my code again, and this time let's change our answer to the opposite. They asked, should Professor change out of her pajamas for a casual shirt? Let's keep her in pajamas. Let's say no. So you can see, since I typed in no, now threshold is going to equal no. It's no longer going to equal yes. Remember, it's a primitive type, so the value could change. And what no equals to is 211. So now the threshold is going to be 211. And then since we're done with that, these won't be executed, and it jumps down to this now, which is the same question: how bright should Tinkerbell shine in the sky? Choose a number between 50 and 70. So let's choose 70. And I run my code, and now you can see the professor is in her pajamas still, and Tinkerbell is shining a little bit brighter. And that is my code. Thanks for listening, guys.